I'm in Kuala Lumpur. I'm Lachlan Cahoon. I'm the Group Editor at Telekom Malaysia, and we're talking wholesaling, and I'm joined by Rozaimy Rahman. He's the Executive Vice President for Telekom Malaysia Berhad, Global and Wholesale. Rozaimy, can I ask you, what's your evaluation of the wholesale telecoms market in the region over the last year?
In a wholesale world today, I think it's very challenging, but it's still very dynamic. A lot of growth from a wholesale perspective. You've got especially if you look at the ASEAN countries, tremendous growth in terms of bandwidth, demand is there, but more on the data part, right? So, we're very excited to look at the ASEAN growing where there's not enough bandwidth today. So, I think it's great for us, yeah.
So how has the wholesale market developed over the past year, and what have been some of the main drivers for growth?
The main drivers, like I said just now, I think the biggest drive is actually data and the broadband. New media which is coming up today, requiring bigger and bigger bandwidth. The pattern of how the consumer actually eating up the bandwidth using YouTube, for example, where it's much more dynamic in terms of YouTube. Just look at the amount of bandwidth that they have, and they just automatically assign how much high definition, for example. So that's eating up a lot of the wholesale. We're seeing a 30 to 40% year-on-year growth from this part of the world, and a lot of the connectivities are coming out from anywhere from Europe to the US.
Which carriers are you looking to develop relationships with in the region?
Especially the ASEAN carriers. I mean, our focus for Telekom Malaysia is ASEAN. This is where our stronghold is, and we want to be able to actually work very closely with the ASEAN carriers, being the gateway into the ASEAN markets, especially from the North American, and especially from the Europe, and especially as well as the South America and the Middle East.
What are some of the biggest challenges for wholesale providers?
Cannibalization of the price. Everybody wants to build cable. Everybody wants to be a telco, but they don't understand the challenges that when you build a cable, submarine cable, for example, you cannot just have one. You have to have multiple. For TM, we already have 20 submarine cables that we built for the last 20 years, and that provides us with a lot of diversity, and that's differentiating us from the other carriers around the world. We've been continuously investing in a lot of the submarine cables for us to be able to actually grow, especially with the ASEAN markets today.
TM is a convergence champion, and it has goals of developing a converged industry in Malaysia by 2020. That involves partnering with SMEs and entrepreneurs to develop the converged future. How's that been going, and what particular milestones have been achieved?
And I think that's a fantastic question. Convergence is just not about telco. It is about adopting and understanding the life evolve around a telco. And we cannot tell the consumer today what that we want them to do. It's the consumer that tells us what they want. And the ecosystem that builds it goes around entrepreneurial, younger generation, millennials coming up with applications that changes on a daily basis. And we have to evolve around that. We have our consumer division, we have our SME division. We form a new division called Digital, and they look specifically at working with new application providers to be able to adopt into our landscape, so be able to actually support some of this consumer. And we're not just looking at it from a Malaysia perspective, we're looking at it from the Asia Pacific. We do have investment in our subsidiaries, for example, Acacia, that has gone through that changes, the transformation into digitalization as well. So that, some parts of the convergence that we are looking at. As well as, we've actually now gone back into the, a mobile kind of services where we actually have a mobile company called Wiwi, and that will complete our converge to be able to then serve the customer from home, on the road, and to the office or anywhere they are.